Hello, good morning. Happy Tuesday. Let's continue working on our diesel course. Hello, Asitsu. How are you doing today? And Abdel, or no, Hadi. Hadi, I remember. How are you doing? You arrived on time? Well, perfect. Awesome. All right. So, continuing on with our article writing or lesson writing or whatever we're calling it. Migrations with diesel is coming up next. So, oh, wait, what? It's somehow that as like a command? That's not going to work. That took a really long time for a touch. That's weird. Oh, you just started your browser and you started the stream? Well, I mean, that's perfect. Perfect timing. Things are going well for me. It's getting to that time of year over here where all the trees turn really pretty colors, which is nice, and all the squirrels are running around like crazy trying to collect all of their nuts and everything else. So Zilby is downstairs looking out the window, and it's action day for Cat TV. Another day to wait. Today was the mini announcement. Oh, they're doing okay. So Apple's doing an announcement like one a day. That's weird. Or okay, it feels weird to me. It does seem weird because this one is an actual redesign. Um, the mini is that tiny squarish rectangular computer, right? I wonder why they redesigned it. Oh, the other ones are incremental upgrades. The mini is now even smaller. So the mini has been really small for a really long time. It's I'll be interested the next time when they have like the new ones out and I'm walking past them in the store to see like how small those really are because they've been getting smaller and smaller constantly. And every once in a while I wonder like would this be better than just like a laptop? would would this be like, if I just got like a 15-inch like, portable monitor and this thing, like would I get it to be more powerful than a laptop or not? So far the answer is no. The MacBook Pros are more powerful than the minis, at least in the past. So another day. Um And then the last thing is update something like that. The Studio is what you would compare the higher end MacBooks. Okay. The Studio is the all-in-one computer, right? The display and the other thing. No announcement for that until next year. I've never had a Studio myself. Like, I've seen them, but I don't think I've really seriously used one very much. I've always had just the notebooks. You did a project, now the research group wants their app. It's memory leaking. I mean, so is it that bad of a memory leak? There's a philosophy in development. I ascribe to the one where just deliver as early and as quickly as possible, even if it's not finished, even if it's not like perfect, even if it's like got little problems or bugs like that. Get it out into users' hands as quickly as possible to start providing value, right? Because the second that they start using it for real, they're going to hit things that you never really thought of. Like, even if you have a kick-ass QA team that can see all of the edge cases, there are edge cases that real users hit that even the best QA can't even think of. So because of that, yes, is that bad? 15 minutes of normal use of one user, 3 gigabytes of RAM. That's not a leak. That's a river. That's that's one of those things where it'd be like, I can show you the demo of it, and I need to do an emergency patch like ASAP. But generally speaking, what I found in the past is if I'm open and honest and clear in my communication and like my time frames where like, hey, this is the only thing I'm working on right now. I'm gonna patch this up, fix it up. I hope to have it done by the end of whatever time period. But then you keep them up to date constantly, so it's like, oh, I'll have it done within 3 days, and then you're like, get to the end of the first day, and you're like, there's no way I'm gonna be done at the end of 3 days. Tell them then. Tell them right then. Yeah, you know what? I know I said I was gonna have it done by the end of 3 days. Going into a little bit more, I've realized that there's bigger problems. It's actually going to take me a week. Just be more like, be really open in communication. People, even though you're going to get people who are upset, they're going to be less upset if you're open with them like right away than they're going to be if you just miss the deadline. I know that's not what you're asking, but that's sort of like a side tangent that is that I think about a lot. Database file took 4.5 thousand lines. Well, okay, so you said it was your bachelor's project, so that's when you were still learning. That's more understandable. Yeah, when you're learning projects, like to me, I would wonder if it's a learning project and you want it to make it real, maybe you can like rebuild the entire thing from scratch faster than it would be to fix it up, and you can get it to them really quickly. Just let them, you don't have to tell them you're rebuilding it because people will freak out at that. You just tell them, I'll have this to you at blah blah time. They don't actually care if it's a new code base or not. They think they care. They don't. I think we looked at this at one point in time in the past, but I want to look at migrations. I need to add in database there. Schema migration? Yeah, also database migration. Okay. First, the management of version-controlled incremental and sometimes reversible changes to relational database schemas. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about here. But I really do like that it is version controlled. So migrations are let's just say the schema. Schema. Okay, so it allows us to change the schema of the database in a version, in a testable and version controlled fashion. Method? Is it like that? I think it is. Fun fact, the whole project took 10K lines, written in 3 months. The project is split for 7 people. 4 people made the graphs and classes and property query, 2 people for front end and back into the app, and you made the API. The API is written in C. You had written the HTTPS server and thread pool and hash table from scratch. Oh, wow. Yeah, I would, for production type things, I would probably rewrite that using a popular framework. Now, that's not to say that custom made servers like web servers aren't they're sometimes necessary, but if I am doing this for some other group, if I'm deploying this to some customers and they're going to be using it, I want it to be in a system that somebody else could take over, because you could really quickly find yourself in a position where you're the only one who can support it forevermore. And that's not a nice thing, because even if you're oh yeah, job security, I'm going to make money from this and other things, yeah, but then you're also not going to be allowed to truly go on vacation. You're not allowed to go do something else because you're going to be the only one who can do it. If it breaks while you're gone, they're going to call you up and make you fix it. That's not a great thing. Uh-oh, bot. Oh, a lot of bots. Okay, hold on. Let me ban. Luckily, that was just one bot and not multiple bots. But okay, thank you for that. All right, so migrations are tools that allow us to change the schema of the database in a testable and version-controlled fashion. We want to ensure that all of the databases, for example, production, test, dev, Let's see. That's quite a few people. The only projects I was involved in you ended up writing all the code and everyone else just did the design and documentation. I'm trying to think back. When I was in college, I took a few programming courses, but I never had a group programming project. I had some group projects, but they were always in non-programming courses, like not in my CS area. So I don't know. I don't know if I lucked out from that or if I missed something like some important fundamental like learning experiences. Constructor, hello. How are you doing today? You like Diesel for its simplicity. Is it an ORM? Yes, it is an ORM. The only tagged along. You could have done it with 4 people only. Yeah, that does happen. That happens even in professional projects working in real life where you have team members who sometimes don't do anything and that becomes a management problem. Okay, so what are migrations? Let's see. So, for example, we can have a migration to create the tables, columns, and relationships between them. I don't know if that's necessarily a good example because we're going to figure that out. So I don't know. This might be all we need is just like this is a really simple migrations. I guess we can say like, um, is the Wikipedia page good for this? It goes into a lot extra stuff, so I'm not exactly sure if I care that much about it. Martin Fowler has a Martin Fowler has some really good stuff. There's so much here. Yeah, this is also too much to necessarily like send somebody to. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to use any of those. Um, I don't think Postgres has something like it. Yeah, I think I'll just skip anything else and we'll just move on to the next one. I guess like as part of what are migrations, we can do like the important part just right here. You did one started project with some people you had never met before and you never saw again. So it's up to you again. Oh no. The I don't know, like as when I was teaching, I did run into a few times where there was like some people who were trying, like clearly trying to like, not do super too much about it. But I've always found that as just as the teacher, all you have to do is just pay attention to that and uh mention it to someone else. It's like everybody gets individual grades on this, it's like we can see what you're doing. And also, heck, especially with Git type stuff, is like we can see that you are like who is doing the commits. And there was we only had one group who did pair programming, and I just taught them how to like switch off. So it's like, okay, you're doing it for half an hour, now like switch over to somebody else and they do all the commits for half an hour, and they're the ones typing. And like it's really easy to tell like who actually does what in a project, in programming at least. You do have to pay attention though. Okay, so actually I already have this is important right here. So migrations are tools that allow us to change the schema of the database in a testable and version controlled fashion. So maybe we add in a little bit more right here. This means, or this is, or just like, for example here, creating tables, columns, relationships, and even not functions, but it could even be configuration settings, but I don't know how much of it is like really easy to do that. Tables, columns, relationships, and even... Sorry about that. I think you can hear the garbage trucks outside, which is a very nice background sound. Okay, so triggers. That's what I'm thinking of. So trigger functions. These migrations typically have both up and down versions or sides. Allowing developers to update their updating the databases. I guess like allowing developers, allowing everybody. To update their database to be and okay, now we can say this is important because we want to ensure that all of the databases, for example, production, test, dev, etc., have exactly the same schema, so we can be confident that our code will run the way that we expect it to. We also can put these migrations into version control. Okay. So that is what database migrations are, why migrations are important. All right, so let's create a migration. Let's imagine that we want to create a database for to do like a pet store or a pet store. For the pet store, we would just have, yeah, we could just do types of pets. Oh, and make each migration compatible with the immediate version before it. Yeah, that's true. Where would I put this in? These migrations typically have both up and down sides to them, allowing everyone project. Ooh, maybe I can say. I shouldn't say like it should always be safe or something like that because that's absolutely not true. Depends upon your policy as a developer. So it's going to be another way to think about migrations is that they are incremental changes to the database in code form. Okay, something like that. Let's imagine that we want to create a database for a pet store. We might have two tables. We might have two tables for the pets and their species. So then I always forget how to do the yeah, I just told you in case you want to explain how update might be happening. And so yeah, no problem whatsoever. And I don't think that it's mansplaining. I think this is all important and stuff. But yeah. Let's imagine we want to create a database for a pet store. We might imagine two tables. Okay, so tables time. I don't think I have a vertical bar to begin with on this one. I think you start with just like the first one there like that, and then we have the name of the table, like the name column. So column name, and then the type. Do data type. Think that's it, right? I don't think I have like an ending one. And then you become that's how to do a table, right? Abdul, you just had or Hadi. Sorry, I need to look farther into the name to remind myself. You had a hamburger ad. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, and I do have those ads. They run automatically in every 20 minutes, but only for like 1 minute long, which is we've played around a lot with it. So like we tried 3 minutes of ads every hour, and that was too much for most people. Okay, so if I do like primary key, we're gonna have ID, and your data type is gonna be an int. Ooh, and then there are, what is it called? Restrictions. I forget what it's called. It's you need to go look it up. Constraints. Constraint. Okay, so if we do, well, why did I do that like that? Thank you, like that. Do I need you? I don't remember if I need you or not either. I feel like, okay, I need to look it up because I always forget how to do the tables. What? Come on, just give me a cheat sheet. I just want a table. Okay, do start with that, and I do end with it. That's what it is. Okay. Start with it, end with it. And then, yeah, I do have these vertical bars and those lines like that. Okay, so then are like this. I think I'll be able to, if I remember correctly, I can vertically align these. Oh, I think it's that ampersand one. So if I do X, select vertical bar, select vertical bar, and then ampersand. Yeah, it does that automatically. So by the end of this, I'll be able to update it, and I don't have to worry about it right now. Primary key is a constraint. Ah, that's true. Although oftentimes, like I see these here, because like here I want to have something like not null, not null, and I mean, I guess we could just do it here. Maybe we'll do that. We could do primary key. Primary key, and then that should be good for right now, right? So that's our ID. And then we can have the name and the name of the data type. Okay, so the data type will be a varchar 255. And this will be not null. It's allowed to be duplicated. And then we'll do this entire thing again. Hold on, I want to do. Okay, so you're fine there, but on you, I need to select on space and replace you with that. What? No. No. Select on space, place with that. Okay, and that's good. So then let's just copy you. We will have ID int is also a primary key. Name is varchar, not null. Okay, so then this will be pets. And you will be species. Okay, so imagine we have these two tables here. Pet and their species. While it is easy to just spin up the database on our local system and use an interactive terminal like PSQL to create these tables. Y2. It's good. Okay. It's a good idea to have each migration focused on one thing at a time. Let's show that by building the pets, and there is one more that we need to do here. Is don't we? We have to have species ID. You're an int, and you are a, let's see, okay, species ID name. You are a foreign key. Is it? Let's see. Do we want to do like? Do we do foreign key or do we just do like relates to? I mean, this like can't be not is not null. Foreign key to species. I mean, we could do that, or what is the relationship thing? I forget. It's not relationship. Is it relation? I keep on forgetting exactly what it's called. Like I don't know why. Like I do this all well, not all the time. I don't do this every day, but I do it often enough that I'm surprised I have so much trouble remembering this part. References. That's what it is. So references species ID. Okay, so if we do that, oops, nope, stop. And you, I mean, I guess I might as well just do that. Do search for that. Oh, that's lovely. Let's full screen you. You'll be happy. Search for that. Replace with that. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's show that by building the migration for species. Okay, so where do we want to be? We want to be, okay, so in diesel demo, actually, I want to do this as an actual lesson. So let's do a new thing here. This will be diesel course. How do I want to name this? Probably diesel course is fine for this, right? So I have just Postgres up running here. This is gonna be fine for that. Oh, but I also have diesel Rust course Postgres. That actually, this is the one I want to use, and that's my A432. Perfect. Okay, so let's do cargo new diesel course. Username Postgres. Keyboard cat. Most 8432, I think is what it was. Slash Postgres. Okay, so if I do that, now you are not in there, so that's perfect. That's what we want to see. So then you are gonna be diesel setup. That creates our first migration there. So I can do a diesel migration generate. Diesel migration generate, and then the name of it, which is going to be create species. Okay. In our terminal, we can run the command diesel migration generate create species to generate the migration, which creates 2 files for us. I mean, it creates, okay, so it creates a folder. So it creates a folder with a timestamp and 2 files, up and down. The timestamp is for ordering purposes and tells the database, tells Diesel which order to run the migrations in. This is also the identifier for the migration, which we'll get into right after we run this first migration. Okay. Let's edit the up.sql okay, so we want to run create species up. Your SQL goes here, so this will be create table. Okay, so create table species. And inside of species, we're going to have ID, which is going to be a primary key. And it is going to be a backwards. It is a sequence. And then a primary key. And then those 2 together also give us the not null and everything else. That's fine. And I haven't forgot any of these. So yeah, ID int primary key and then name varchar 255 not null. So that's not what I want. I want to go this way. Okay, and then name is gonna be a varchar 255 not null. Okay. Oh, and then semicolon. Even though I actually don't think that if it's just one thing, I think you can get away without a semicolon if it's just one thing. But I like to have these in here. All right, let's actually make sure this works. So if I do a diesel migrate run, that errored out, and I keep on forgetting. I need to just add this into my thing. Is remove. I need to find and remove the Rust log. Environment variable and stream profile. Need to just do that sometime. Okay, but until then, I can do that and Failed to execute query. Your SQL goes here. Create table species. Unknown type sequence does not exist. See, okay. What is, I thought it was sequence, but apparently I'm not correct on that. Like, isn't there one of these that like actually shows the sequence type? Oh, serial. It's serial. Oh, which I didn't put it in there, so that's fine. So yeah, it's not SQL, it's serial, like that. There we go. Okay. So good thing I tested it, right? Okay, so SQL, your SQL goes here, create table species, ID serial, primary key, name varchar, not null. Do that. Okay. Then we can run our first migration with the command. We don't do testing here. We test in production, right? Okay, so I do diesel, diesel migration vert. Actually, I don't have any downs yet, so let's do just this. With the command, this is the command. Okay, then we can run our first migration with the command diesel migration run. This will execute the SQL in the up.sql file. If there is an error, then it will be printed to the screen. Why did I go back up there? I thought it was right here. Why did I go up there? Okay, so you become that. Diesel migration run, running migration, create species. And we have that. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so before we write more migrations, let's connect to the database and see and verify that it did what we expected it to do. Now, in a previous lesson, we already did something for connecting to PSQL, so I don't need to do that here. Actually, I can do that here though, because it's just Docker. So Docker exec diesel rest course. Is it just diesel rest course? Diesel rest course Postgres. So that is it. PSQL U Postgres. So if I do that, I then also want to DT, and we see that we have species here. And then I can do a DS species, and shoot, that doesn't show me. That like goes into the full thing. There, much better. So I can do all of that together. Okay, so we do our Docker exec ti, diesel rust course Postgres, PSQL, U Postgres, drops me into PSQL. I do DT. We get our list of relations, and we see their species. That one didn't work out, but then we have our species here, and we see everything working the way we expect it to. Perfect. Oh, why do you go one extra in the front? That's not what I wanted. Okay, so we can also see a table called diesel schema migrations. It's not really SQL here. I'm not sure what to give it. I guess this is sort of SQL. Ooh, why did you jump up there? So weird. Okay, Postgres table, diesel schema migrations. We have our version on and this. Okay, so this table is used by Diesel to track which migrations has been run and when. The version is the name of the so 2024 10 29 161 650. 2024 10 29 161 650. Oh, without. Okay. So the version is the name of the uh, directory minus the version is the name of the is the timestamp. part of the directory. Okay, so this table is used by Diesel to track which migrations have been run. Have been run and when. The version is the timestamp part of the directory. Okay, so this means that no matter how often you attempt to rerun the migration, if it has the row in the database for that folder, then it will not be rerun. Okay, so maybe before we do that, we then just go to the new line and say, let's say that we made a mistake. Well, let's we can undo the migration with the command. Oh, but I shouldn't say that. Okay, we can undo the migration with a command. With a command which will both remove the appropriate lines from the rows from the table, and run the subsequent down. Okay. That should be that one did what I expected it to. Create species down. So this is going to be drop table species. I mean, pretty simple. We'll do our test. We did run. I think it's revert. This one first. Okay, so drop table species. Using the command diesel migration revert, which will run the most recent SQL.down migration. Okay. Diesel migration revert, rolling back migration, blah, 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 create species. Okay, great. Perfect. Wait, I had this over here. Here, okay, so we could do dt and see that there is no table there, and we could do table that. Okay, so I want u2. And there we go. Okay. And you should be happy. Okay, so note. Do I want to do that? Okay, so maybe not. Let's create the second migration for the pets table. Again, it's recommended to create a single migration per table or change in the database. To keep the migrations simple and make it easier. To make it easier to track like the evolution. To track the evolution of the database. Okay. So we're gonna do diesel migration generate pets. Okay, so we want ID, serial, primary key. We want name, varchar 255, not null, and we want species ID to be an int. Not null, and references. References, species, ID. Okay. I made the other ones really nice, so I should do the same thing here. There. Let's run you. Okay. Oh, I forgot. We start with shell, and you start with this. Okay, so we start with you, and then we'll do another pets up.sql for pets table. Okay, you throw you in there. You're happy and fine. And then finally, running. Okay. Strange. Um, let me. There, my browser reloaded for the YouTube stream. That was fun. Luckily, it still seems to be up, so that's good. Okay, so notice that this time both the migrations ran at the same time. And we'll run them one after the other using the timestamp. Using the timestamps to determine the order. Okay. And now we do a DT. We now see all those things, and so that's fine. And then one last thing, if we do a revert now, yeah, I need to update that. Good point. Okay, so notice that time both the migrations ran at the same time. Diesel will use that migrations table, so the migrations table, to determine which migrations haven't run, and then run them all, one after the other, using the timestamps to determine the order. Let's Yeah, and that it does one at a time for revert, which is different. I've each ORM or each migration tool will actually sort of determine how this works. If you're coming from other migration tools, um, maybe more of um, other migration tools control this aspect separately or differently, act differently. Other migration tools may have different behavior. Like running all of the downs at the same time. Like running all the downs from each, I don't know. Heidi, you're gonna head off. You just woke up. You slept on the PC. Oh, I'm sorry about that. But then also, thanks for hanging out, and I hope that you have a good night. I don't actually think I need anything. We just say, hey, just notice that it rolls back that. Okay, so that is creating up and down migrations, run the migrations, roll back the migrations, describe when to create a new migration. Okay, so let's reapply the migration to be let's reapply the migration to be what we expect it to be. Let's reapply the migration. Oh yeah, because I had done both on revert, so I have to sort of that one. Okay, so Let's see. When to create new migrations versus updating. When to create versus updating migrations. Okay, so migrations. All one word, right? With other teammates and deployments. Can it do more than one with a CLI flag? That's a good question. I don't think I looked. Diesel migration. So can I do a revert -h? I can. So there's a reverts previously one. That's all, right? So hold on. Let's try this. Diesel migration revert. If I revert them all, okay, so they're all done. So diesel. Oh, do I want to do revert? Oh, okay, I know what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. Do that, and a single revert. Okay, so then we have one group in that timestamp. So now if I run again and get that, that's a different timestamp. So there's technically separate runs. So if I do the -a now, it does them all. So that will do them all regardless of whether or not they were done at the same sort of a group. And then there's number, revert the last end migration files. Yeah, they don't have one to do them per group, but it can do more than one with a CLI flag. So we can add this in here. This can be customized with some with a CLI flag. Okay, but I'm not really gonna go through them. Migrations are a great tool for setting up a database and sharing the setup with other teammates and deployments. That being said, if you have any database besides your own, okay, so if you have any database besides your own that has run the migrations, then creating a new migration is how to update the database. This is because we'll need to run the revert command to undo a migration in order before and therefore before we update it. As we've seen, the revert will often cause data loss to the database. For example, our two down.sql files are will drop the tables. This is not something we'd want to happen on production. So let's say we wanted to add in, okay, so it's still like when to create versus updating migrations. Therefore, the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is that if we're the only ones that have the migration, then we can safely revert it, change it, and rerun it for testing. Especially if production has run it, then treat the migration as what do I want to say for this? If anyone else has run the migration, especially if production has run it, then treat the migration as set in stone. Only creating new migrations will be the only safe way to update the database. What is it called? There's I was looking for a meme from Gumball Rally, but I don't know if I can find it easily. Videos maybe? It's the Italian car. Is it this one? No, that's too long. I was hoping for like the 15-second one, but these are all like multiple minutes. Okay. Anyways, Gumball Rally is an old like 1976, I think, movie for it's like a cross country in the United States movie where like people are doing an illegal street race, and there's this driver who gets like this Italian coach or whatever who drives with him, and the first thing he does is he rips off the rearview mirror and he says, first rule of racing, no looking back, only looking forward. Like that's the only thing that matters is forward. And that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Like the backwards, no backwards. Never look back, just forward. That's all we do. You make a mistake and it makes its way to production. I'm sorry, but there's only forward. Fix it in a new migration. But I don't know. I would need to cut it out myself, and I'm too lazy to do that. And apparently, if I look for Gumball Rally, I find most of them are cartoons that have nothing to do with that movie. All right, so let's do this. Let's show this by adding a new migration to add a notes section to the pets. Oh, should we do note section or should I do like a last fed? Because it's like a pet store, right? You want to track when they were last fed. Let's to add a last fed. Okay, diesel migration generate add last fed to pets. Okay, so diesel migration last fed to pets. That's great. Then our up SQL. Okay, so add last fed to pets up. Okay, so here we're gonna have alter table pets, add column, last fed, and then with constraints, right? So I want this is probably nullable because if they've never been fed, it's nullable. So are things by default nullable? I think it is. By default, it's nullable, right? I don't remember. We can play around with it before I immortalize it into the lesson. Okay, so last fed, I want this to be a do I want this to be a date time or a timestamp? This is another one of those things which I constantly forget. So want timestamp? It's more like, do you have like a type list? Create type, the type system. The SQL standard requires that writing just timestamp to be equivalent to timestamp without time zone, and PostgreSQL honors that behavior. The timestamp TZ is accepted as an abbreviation for timestamp with time zone. This is a PostgreSQL extension. Do I care about time zone for this? I probably do. So we could just do Say I don't want the time of day. I don't want just date. I probably want just timestamp with time zone. So I probably want timestamp TZ. Okay, so add column, last fed, timestamp TZ, like that. And then if we look at down, alter table pets, drop column, last fed. That's it. Okay. So if we run that, oh, because I had removed them all. Okay. But that's good. That adds that in there. Perfect. So let's see what I want here. So this is the sequel to up. Oh, right. One thing I wanted to test out here was if I can make this, if it's nullable by default, because I always forget that, which I think is actually over here. Let me go to the right. All right, so let's insert into pets. We want okay, let's insert into pets. I skip the name. Okay, we have name. Oh, we have to do species because that's not nullable. Oh, yeah, and here we not nullable. This is nullable. We can see that right now. So it is absolutely nullable. So we're fine. I don't need to test it. Okay, so upset SQL, we'll have down.sql. Okay, so I'll do a table, and then run the migration. Okay, so it runs those migrations, and then we could test, but I think we're good to go. So and now we have added a column to the pets table using a new migration. This is the cadence, the practice. This is the pattern to follow. This is the pattern to follow for all changes to the database. Okay. Let's read through it, and that'll be this lesson. Migrations with Diesel. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe what database migrations are, describe why migrations are important, create an up migration, create a down migration, run migrations, roll back migrations. Let's do this as revert. Revert migrations. Describe when to create a new migration versus updating a migration. What are migrations? Migrations are tools that allow us to change the schema of the database in a testable and version-controlled fashion. For example, creating tables. Creating tables, columns, relationships, and even trigger functions. These migrations typically have both up and down sides to them, allowing everyone who is part of the project to update their database and have confidence that they have the same schema. Another way to think about migrations is that they are incremental changes to the database in code form. That way we can run whatever new migrations have been created to update our database to the latest version expected by the applications. This is important because we want to ensure that all of the databases, for example, production, test, dev, etc., have exactly the same schema so that we can be confident that our code will run the way we expect it to. We also can put these migrations into version control since they are just code. That way, if there's a problem or bug, we can look back to see what happened and get a better idea of how to fix it. Shuri makes art. Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And then hello, raiders. How are you all doing today? Shuri, what are you working on? Working on your portfolio site. Nice. Let me let's do a shout out. All right. Thank you again for the raid. Hope the stream is going well. Yeah, it's going pretty well. We're currently working on a lesson for a Diesel Rust course that we're working on. Diesel is an ORM for connecting to SQL-based databases. We're using Postgres as part of this course, but I don't think anybody would run into trouble even if you're using SQLite. I think that would just sort of work as expected. So everything is relatively easy to follow along with. And we just finished writing the migrations lesson, and I'm rereading through it to make sure that it is good. It's what we want it to be. I'm gonna run and make lunch. Well, thank you so much for the raid again, and have a great rest of your day. All right, let's continue reading through this. So, creating our first migration. Let's imagine that we want to create a database for a pet store. We might have two tables for the pets and their species. So pets, column name, data type, constraints. So we have our ID, which is an int and primary key. Name, varchar, not null, species ID, int, not null, references, species ID. Okay, perfect. And then we have species. That looks good. Okay. While it is easy to just spin up the database on our local system and use an interactive terminal like PSQL to create these tables, it's a better idea to create two migrations for these. Why two? It's a good idea to have each migration focused on one thing at a time. Let's show that by building a migration for species. We need to begin with the species because the pets table relies on the species table being created due to the species ID reference. In our terminal, we can run the command diesel migration generate create species to generate the migration, which creates a folder with a timestamp and two files, up and down. Okay, so we can see the up and down. The timestamp is for ordering purposes and tells Diesel which order to run the migrations in. This is also the identifier for the migration, which we'll get into right after we run this first migration. Let's edit the up.sql file and add the create table statement. So create table, and we ran all this so we know it runs. Then we can run our first migration with the command diesel migration run. This will execute the SQL in the up.sql file. If there is an error, then it will be printed to the screen. Maybe it'll be printed because we're in a terminal. Okay, so we diesel migration run and create species. Before we write more migrations, let's connect to the database and verify that it did what we expected it to do. So we connect to the database, we run DT, we get a list of tables. We see the schema migrations into species. We do the DS, and we see all that stuff. Perfect. We can see the new species table has been created and has the schema that we expect it to have. We can also see a table called diesel schema migrations. Let's take a look at the contents of this table. Okay. Just removing that space with the semicolon. I usually leave that in when I'm doing coding stuff, but like white space doesn't matter in SQL, so I'm just lazy. All right, so it shows those two there. This table is used by Diesel to track which migrations have been run and when. The version is the timestamp part of the directory. This means that no matter how often you attempt to rerun the migration, if it has the row in the database for that folder, then it will not be rerun. What if we made a mistake with our migration and we want to rerun it? We can undo the migration with a command. Which will both remove the appropriate rows from the table and run the subsequent down.sql files. Let's update the down.sql file now to remove the species table. Okay, drop table species. Then we can revert the database migration using the command diesel migration revert, which will run the most recent SQL.down migration. Okay, so we do that. Now we can check the database again, and the species table is gone. We can also notice, so the migration is also missing from the migrations table. Let's create the second migration for the pets table. Again, it's recommended to create a single migration per table or change in the database to keep the migration simple and make it easier to track the evolution of the database. Okay, so we migration generate pets. We have our up for the pets. We have our up for pets. You know what? I think I wanted to put the down for pets there. Oh, well. Yeah, let's add the down for pets right here. Okay, and then we run it. So diesel migration run. Notice that this time both the migrations ran at the same time. Diesel will use the migrations table to determine which migrations haven't run, and then run them all one after the other using the timestamps to determine the order. We can finally test the down part of the migration by running revert again. The diesel migration revert, rolling back pets. Notice that even though we ran both the up migrations at the same time with a single diesel migration run command, when we revert, we revert only the most recent migration. We revert same time with a single diesel migration run command. Only the most recent migration is reverted. This can be customized with a CLI flag. Check the help with the command diesel migration revert -h to see what your options are. Let's reapply the migration. Use the migration run, and it runs pets. Okay. When to create versus updating migrations. Migrations are a great tool for setting up a database and sharing this setup with other teammates and deployments. That being said, if you have any database besides your own that has run the migrations, then creating a new migration is how to update the database. This is because we'll need to run the revert command to undo a migration before we update it. As we've seen, the revert will often cause data loss to the database. For example, our two down.sql files will drop the tables, not something we'd want to happen on production. Therefore, the rule of thumb is that if we're the only ones that have the migration, then we can safely revert it, change it, and rerun it for testing. If anyone else has the migration, especially if production has run it, then treat the migration as set in stone. Creating new migrations will be the only safe way to update the database. Let's show this by adding a new migration to, by creating a new migration to add a last fed column to the pets table. Okay, so generate our up SQL, down SQL, migration run. And now we have added a column to the pets table using a new migration. This is the pattern to follow for all changes to the database when we're using migrations. Okay, that's it. We covered all of the objectives, and migrations with Diesel is done. So if we head back to our README here, you are good. Oh, embedding the migrations into the binary. Yeah, I didn't add this one in. So this, you know what? This should probably be another file. Okay, so I need to remember, because I usually don't do the embedding, so I always need to look it up. I think it was in getting started. It was migrations. The Diesel migrations crate provides the embed migrations macro, allowing you to embed migration scripts in a final binary. Once your code uses it, you can simply include connection.runPending migrations at the start of your main function to run migrations every time the application starts. So we should actually do this to make it run. And the thing I'm starting to think of is that for this course, I wonder if I want to move. I probably want to put something into a binary to run the migrations at that point in time. But okay, create species pets. I think this will be fine. All of our lessons can like build upon this. So let's see, we have migrations, we have a source. So then in our source, we can take a bin, touch, run migrations. Okay. We need the diesel migrations crate. You didn't take me to the crates.io page, which I wanted you to. Is there a way for me to go? Fine, I'll just do this. This is what I want. Appears to have no README file. That's cool. But all right, this is the official one that they link to, so that's what I'm going to go to. So to here. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, you will be able to run migrations automatically. Describe why you might want to run the migrations automatically. Okay, let's do it. So I need to add this crate. So okay, so we add diesel migrations like that. I don't think I need anything else, right? I'm sure we'll be fine. But okay, so all right, let's see. All right, so normally migrations will only run via the diesel CLI. However, we might want to automatically run them. Okay, so we might want to automatically run the migrations for a couple different reasons. We might often find ourselves forgetting to run them. We might often find ourselves forgetting to run them and using a database during development that isn't that doesn't have the latest schema. Let's see. So another reason might be that we don't want to install the diesel CLI for one reason or another. For example, we may not want to install the diesel CLI in it would be in CI/CD or the production servers. in this case, we would want to have the application run the migrations automatically if we didn't have another system to run them whenever new migrations are created. There isn't I would say like there isn't really a best practice for this. Each situation will require how do I want to say this? Like basically there isn't really a best practice for this, as each situation requires its own response. I'm not sure. When we read through it again, maybe I'll have a better idea of like what I want to say there. Okay, so you know what? I also forgot to put into the other one here, migrations of diesel. I have objectives, and then I also want code. You can find the code for this lesson at I have a diesel course up here, but I haven't pushed it up. I should do that. Let's get commit. Created diesel migrations. Okay, so we have that. I'll just do that there. Okay, so you can find the code for this lesson at diesel course. Okay. Now in this case, it's going to be source bin. Should probably actually finish pushing it all up, shouldn't I? Okay, it's a course. Run migrations. Oh, and you know what I really want to do probably is just see at GitHub. In GitHub. Okay, I'll push this up and then I'll go and find the file. Okay, so we have the migrations. Okay, so there isn't really a best practice for this, as each situation requires its own response. to run the migrations automatically, we'll need to use a crate or the diesel migrations crate. Okay, so to run the migrations automatically, we'll need to use the diesel migrations crate. Come on, stop. Don't do that. There we go. Okay, it's all one line. Everything's good there. Okay, so we add the diesel migrations crate. Then inside of view, we are now going to migrations can either be run with the CLI or embedded into the compiled application and executed with code. For example, right after establishing a database connection. For more information, consult the embed migrations macro, which is right here. This macro will read your migrations at compile time and create a constant value containing an embedded list of all of your migrations as available at compile time. This is useful if you would like to use Diesel's migration infrastructure but want to ship a single executable file, such as for embedded applications. It can also be used to apply migrations to an in-memory database. Okay. You can optionally pass the path to the migrations directory to this macro. When left unspecified, Diesel will search for the migrations directory in the same way that Diesel CLI does. If specified, the path should be relative to the directory where cargo.toml resides. Okay, so we run this is not running a macro. I thought it was a macro. Yeah, embed migrations. Hold on. Okay, so I'm getting embed migrations. Oh, here it is. Okay, so pub const migrations. Yeah, I see that now. It was I needed to go to the right more. Embedded migrations, embed migrations. You're saying exactly where you are, but I don't need. This is optional, I believe. Okay, so if I do that, we're gonna do const migrations. This is an embedded migrations. Let's just restart, see if maybe that makes this a little bit more helpful for us. Okay. There we go. Import you. Import you. Excellent. So there we go. We have you. And then, okay, so once we have this const migrations, run migrations, and we have to connection import migration harness. Is that different than a normal connection? Run pending migrations. See the documentation for migration harness for all available methods. Okay, but, right, fine. So let's add function, run migrations. We have our connection. You're a mutable reference. Yeah. Mutable reference to a impl migration harness. Oh, which is from diesel migrations. Okay, that's good to know. Interesting. So that's a DB. It's not a type from you. That's a generic. Yeah, you're gonna need this. And then you're gonna return a result. As I do with all the courses I've created, we're just gonna use error. Okay, so why did I go back to that one? I wanted to go to this browser here. Okay, so we have that, and then connection run pending migrations, and then past it migrations. Okay, so wherever connection, run, execute all unapplied migrations for a given migration source. Execute the next migration from the given migration source. Apply a single migration. So run pending migrations, context, running migrations, like that. Uncle Scientist, hello. How are you doing today? There are too many error libraries. I propose a new one to rule them all. Can't go wrong with that, right? Yeah, enter that XKCD, yet another standard, right? However, if anybody from this community makes a kick-ass error library, I will switch over to using it. I can never remember if anyhow or this error is for lib or bin crates. Yes. The answer is yes. Because this error is mostly for creating errors, and anyhow is for handling the error. So oftentimes you use them both. Yeah, it's the whole error, color error, yet. Although color error is for updating error, right? So you don't really need that. Now, you're yelling at me, cannot find type db in a scope. So how did this run? How did they get this example to execute? Because I don't see them pulling in this db or defining db anywhere, which makes me wonder. Can I see the source code for this? I'm looking for the db. Like, where did they create that? Somewhere up here? Huh. I don't see the db type. And so I know it's a generic, but it's not set up anywhere. That's weird. Maybe it's in the include macro. Doesn't the include macro just pull in a file? Where was include in here? Yeah, okay, so include macro is pulling a source doc test. Oh, you're right. It is. That is. Come on, why would you do this? Okay, so we need to go to their repository. Hold on, I want to stay here. I want to open a tab to the repository. Oh, hey, Zilby, are you gonna hang out? Okay, so these are migrations. That's not it. Where was it? Migrations macros. Okay, now. Oh, well, that was fast. Where was that include? Diesel source doc test setup. Oh, that goes like multiple ways down. Diesel source. Doc test setup. I see. Okay. Type DB equals DZ. Oh, okay. So this is what I need. This is the reason why I ended up having to like create all this documentation and this stuff myself. Oh, see your link. Sorry, Asitsu. I didn't see your link. I just went straight to figuring it out on my own. Okay, yeah, but you linked the actual file. But okay, so connection, migration harness, DB. So then this actually needs to be just Postgres, which means I need to pull in Diesel into here too. So Diesel left Postgres. Is it Postgres or is it PG? Yeah, you should have used PG. Import Diesel PG. Okay, there we go. So run migrations. We do that. Context. The method context exists for enum result, but its trait bounds were not satisfied. Oh, come on. Your result isn't because it's a box dine error. So far, the docs have been consistent in that whenever you see DB, you substitute that for your specific database type. I guess that's nice that they're consistent, but also sometimes you don't go from the beginning of the docs, right? Sometimes you go straight to something, and then you have people like me who forget the things constantly. So yeah. All right, so I can't use air easily here because that result is a box dine error plus send plus sync. Fine. We won't use error. Okay, and you're doing that. So result. So box dine error plus send plus sync. Mismatch types. Expected enum result, box dine error, send sync. Oh, and static. Found unit type. Oh, that. There we go. Oh, that's fun. All right, so we have our run migrations like that, which means, okay, so we have to connect to the database. So let our DB connection is going to be I think it's just connection, right? Oh, that's an interface. Connection. Is it Postgres database connection? Can I use Diesel migration result? Let's find out. Oh, it'd be like this. Results. A specialized result type representing the result of a migration operation. So if I do that, T, I don't care about you. It didn't yell at me, but there's an error up here. So yes, I can. Okay, perfect. So I can use that. All right, so let DB connection. Oh, it's like Postgres, right? So if I do, is it PG? PG connection establish, right? Establishes a new connection to the database. Then a database URL, so that we have to do, we have to bring in .env. Okay, so we do that, and then we have to let our database URL equals standard env var database URL expect missing database URL environment variable. Okay, that gives us the string there. Establish. You take in a stir. So database URL. You're a result. So you can expect error connecting to Postgres database. That gives us our DB connection, and then we can finally run the migrations and pass it in the DB connection. And I have the result there, and so this can be an expect error running migrations. Okay, so that is happy. Let's go ahead and let's roll back let's roll back everything. So we'll do a diesel migration revert revert them all. There, we have no migrations that are run. Everything is empty. Okay, so if we just do a cargo run bind run migrations, it compiles and then hopefully it runs without error. I wonder if we should have something to print out. But yeah, it ran the migrations. And it ran all of them. So perfect. Okay, so all right, so let's see. To run the migrations automatically, we'll need to use the diesel migrations crate. We need a huzzah, it worked message. Ooh, yeah. That would be nice. Maybe some kind of yeah, let me add that as a to-do. Add it worked command slash what would it like? I want one of those like events that people can like that you all could set up. So Twitch event alert, Twitch alert. Bonus points if I could figure out how to use Zilby's image as part of that. Okay, so to run migrations automatically, we'll need to use the diesel migrations crate. Also, let's not forget that we need diesel installed. And we need diesel installed as well. I don't know why my trackpad sometimes does that. Sometimes it's fine. I think it's like when I'm like pressing too hard and I have like too much finger space on it. Did I not copy that? Oh, I did copy that. Okay. Okay. Cargo add diesel, F Postgres, we have that. Oh, it's after 12 too. Explains why I'm feeling really hungry. Time to write a driver for your trackpad in Rust. That'll probably be too much work. That's probably too much work for me versus just like figuring out how to do it properly. Okay. Oh, shut up. I keep on accidentally enabling like my voice command on my phone too, which is not great. Okay, so add diesel Postgres, we do that. And then finally, we'll need to install dot env. Okay, finally we'll need to install .env so we can access the database URL environment variable. Okay. For the test to work as expected, let's revert all of the migrations so that we are beginning with an empty database. Okay, we have our 3 reverts. Go back to there. Okay, we're good to go. All right, time to code. Okay, so creating the migration, function. My brain is apparently shutting down now. That's fun. Okay, so inside of here, okay, so how do I want to do this? Probably the const first. So let's start with our const. We'll begin by creating by running the embed migrations macro and assigning the result to a constant, to a const. I can't remember if RS works or if it has to be Rust. Okay, so we do that. Const migrations, embedded migrations, embed migrations. All right, so we do that. Toto, hello. How are you doing today? All right, so next we'll create a function that create a function that takes in a database connection and returns an migration error. So I want to find, okay, so we have the embedded migrations, and can I find the, these are all methods. Shouldn't I find like the result and return types? Try from, unpending migrations. Type alias diesel migration result. This is, I think, where we're getting it from. Diesel migration result. Diesel migration result. That's exactly it. Yeah. I want this type area. Ooh, I could just do that. Okay. Next, we'll create a function that takes in a database connection and returns a migration error. We can. Okay, that takes in a database connection. Returns the error. This connection is a is it a connection harness is what they called it? Migration harness. Is a migration harness Wait, I'm confused. Where did we get this from? Diesel migrations, migration harness. That's at the root. Source migration harness. Okay. Oh, I'm in diesel. I'm in diesel. I don't want to be in diesel. I'm diesel migrations. And this is a migration harness. That's what I want. There we go. Okay, so next we'll create a function that takes in the database connection and returns a migration error. This connection is a migration harness. This connection is a migration harness that works with okay, this connection, I guess, notice that this connection impulse data harness any valid diesel database connection. Oh, wait, that's a good point. That worked, didn't it? Really? Oh. Okay. There we go. Thank you for that. Any valid diesel database connection works with this. Is it a type? This trait. This trait. Same with result. Okay, so wait, where is it? I'm looking for blue things. So .env embedded migrations. Migration error. Literally right above the other one. Yeah, my brain definitely is turning off. Migration error. Okay, so migration result. This is run pending migrations, I think. That type alias. Okay, there we go. So, yep. Silly me for thinking that paste thing would actually like work properly. Okay, so any valid diesel database connection works with this trait. Okay, so any valid diesel database works with this trait. This function, in the function, we'll run the run pending migrations function. We'll run the run pending migrations method on the connection and pass in the migrations const that we created earlier. Okay, so run migrations, connection, run pending migrations. All right, so there we go. To be fair, it works when you want to use the type in your code, which is probably what you want most of the time. I guess that's true, but I'm not in code, so therefore they should update for my use case, right? Okay, so then the function will run the pending migrations method. Okay, and then finally, we'll connect to the database. I guess like finally we'll grab the database URL from the environment variables, connect to the database, and run this function. Why am I saying SH? That's weird for me. I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, so then you that's not what I want. Undo. That's what I want. Okay. So there I have you. Okay, so a example, an entire file that contains all of this code looks like okay, and we have that. Aro Claude, hello. How are you doing today? All right. Let's see. So in this example, we are running, or the code, maybe not we. So like the code is in a bind directory in the source folder. In source. So everything is self-contained. For your code, you may want to break the connection out, the connection, and run migrations out into their own files or modules. Zilby is very unhappy because it is 12:22 and he wants his lunch at 12 o'clock and I am late. Cernikif, hello. How are you doing today? But we're going to try to get this at least to this point, to the point where like I can just read through it next time and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so an example of the code is in a embedded directory in source, so everything is self-contained. For your code, you may want to break the connection and run migrations out into their own modules. All right, so let's run this. Let's run this and see how let's run this. Oh, you know what? I do want, no, I'm lazy. I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, so let's run this and see if the no questions. Let's just run this. Okay, so we can see cargo run. Again. I can just go down like that. Okay, cargo run, bind run migrations. It runs here, and then, oh, I can immediately check. So that's over here. DT, and then we'll see these show up. The code runs. The code runs. The code runs. Notice that, or I guess I don't have to say notice. Okay, so let's check the database to make sure that the migrations ran. We do that. So in Postgres, and there we have it. Migrations that run from the code instead of the migrations that run from the code instead of the, what is it called? CLI tool. There. Run migrations automatically when the app starts. Describe why you might want to run migrations automatically. There we go. And I think we're good to go. Instead of the command CLI tool, instead of command line, I guess we could do that. Command line. Okay, so next time, which is going to be Thursday, we're going to read through this because obviously this is just a rough draft. We do know the code works because we tested that. I do need to post up the course, and so we'll get that up next time too. But I need to do an emergency stream shutdown today because we are almost half an hour over, and Zilby is upset because I need to go feed him. He is starving and dying and all sorts of other terrible things because you know how cats are. Cats, you know, we can't go too much over. So anyways, I will be back Thursday morning to continue working on the course. I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.